Hello, good evening everyone. A very warm welcome. This is webinar 9 of Global Series organized by Chinmaya Vishwa, where we're bringing global academic discourses on various realms of knowledge. I am Srinath Mohandas, Assistant Professor of Education at CVV, moderating the session for this evening. The topic for today, as you already know, is very interesting. 7 things I wish I knew in school about success in life. Giving us insights on this is our esteemed speaker, Sri Vishnu Karthik. May I introduce Vishnu to all of you. Sri Vishnu Karthik is the CEO of Experiential Learning Systems and Director of the Heritage Group of Schools, which is a group of K-12 experiential learning schools. Apart from being on the board of the Heritage Schools, he is also responsible for strategic projects for the group, including new campus initiatives, curriculum development, instructional leadership, continuous school improvement, and technology integration. He has also led startup school teams for setting up new campuses, including 3 CBSE schools, an international school, and an early year school. In his prior roles with the Heritage, he has been a principal, grade 9 economics teacher, and a trekking instructor. A proponent of experiential learning, he has a keen interest in building instructional leadership, cognitive neuroscience, education technology, leadership coaching, authentic assessments, and deeper learning curriculum. What is notable about Vishnu is that he gave up a growing career in the corporate world to pursue his love for education. He was a management consultant and has worked with organizations like Accenture and Right Management in India, America, Southeast Asia, and Europe. He is an alumnus of Harvard University and serves as an advisor and faculty to education NGOs. His articles on education, school leadership, and cognitive neuroscience have been featured in leading newspapers including The Hindu, Times of India, Financial Express, Business World, The Quint, and Swarajya. He's a practitioner of yoga and Vedanta and sees work as a medium to reach his deeper self. Vishnu is also associated with Chinmaya Mission for a very long time now. Thank you, Vishnu. Thank you for accepting our invite and being here. We welcome you to the webinar. Over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Namaskaram and Hari Om, for having me over here. It's a privilege and honor to meet so many young people in this platform. I'm going to share a bit about my own experience, in some ways, my own reflection of what I wish I had known way back in school. I'm 41 years of age. So I was in school many, many decades back. I'm a relic right now. But I still work in the school sector. I still meet young minds like yourself. I still spend a lot of time in the classroom and in the outdoors with especially middle school and high school students. And when I look back and I just wish somebody had told me some things when I was of your age. And when Rukma approached me that, hey, can you do a session? I just thought this is a great topic to talk about in it. A bit about myself, I'm just going to share. I know Srinath that shared a very generous CV. It looks very nice on the website, or probably when you introduce in a conference like this. But I also want to share some unknown aspects of it, why I was very interested in making this session. Let me just share my screen. Just give me a minute. But I'll be happy to email this PowerPoint slides if you're interested. You can always ping me or email me. I'll send this across. But first, a disclaimer. The topic is a little misleading because it talks about what I wish I knew in school about success in life. One realization I have as I embark in my 4th decade and my 2nd decade professionally is there's nothing called success in life. And I'll talk a bit about this later. The reason we put success in life as a caption is just to get your attention, because success is something which, unfortunately, in our society is a very attractable proposition. But with age, you'll realize that the definition of success is so amorphous and so fluid. It really doesn't have any significance as you grow old, as you mature. But nevertheless, we just put it just to get your attention. But I must clarify that the definition of success is very, very wide, personal, and amorphous. A bit about my background, apart from what Srinath generously shared. I must tell you, my life in my school, when I was your age, I was a complete outstanding student, which essentially means that half my life was spent standing outside the classroom and not in the classroom. I was academically very struggle. I mean, I struggled a lot. So I couldn't finish my homework on time. So half the time I'm either outside the class or outside the principal's office. I was a very regular visitor. If there had been reward points to making the maximum visits to the principal's office, I probably would be in the top three in the entire school. I went to one of the top schools in the country. I won't take the name of it. I grew up in Chennai, and this school prided in sending 1 in 3 students to IITs or RECs as they were called back then. I was a hopeless student, hence I was relegated to commerce. Uh, uh, I was there for every academic or discipline issue I used to be caught. I was probably suspended 5, 6 times in my entire life in school. My parents were often called every 3 months to the office. Dad was terribly ashamed of my poor performance in school. So was my mom. In fact, they had dreaded the PTMs every time they come. My mom will be in tears by the time they leave the school of how poor I was performing in school. My dad often wondered what I will do post school. To the point, I should talk a bit about my academics too. I used to fail royally, which essentially means I never used to fail in 1 or 2 subjects. I used to fail in 3 or 4 subjects out of 5 subjects. I went to a CBSE school, there were only 5 subjects. In grade 9, I remember in the quarterly exam, I failed in 3 out of 5. In the half yearly, I improved. I failed in 4 out of 5. And by half yearly grade 9, I just couldn't take it. One Sunday afternoon, I decided to end my life. I consumed Baygon spray, which was there at my house. In those days, I don't know if they still use it, but in those days for cockroaches and mosquitoes, you used to have those manual sprays. They're not the spray which is there in a sealed container, but those you see, you can open it actually. And I gulped the entire the liquids which is there in those things. But fortunately, they were not powerful enough to kill me. I just puked the whole day. When I told my dad as I was puking on that Sunday afternoon that I'd consumed this because I flunked in 4 subjects, my dad was not concerned about that I tried to end my life. He was more concerned that I flunked in 4 subjects, whacked me and took me to the school next day. So that's the kind of schooling I had. Luckily, in grade 11, I just, for some reason, I think I just liked the subjects I had. I really thought commerce was more manageable than physics and chemistry and mathematics, which I had uh, in 9 and 10. And possibly, I just wanted to impress some girls who were there in my school. So I did well in grade 12. 11th, I just struggled manager. But grade 12, good thing about CBSE schools is exams is you study the last 1 month, you can do well. So I think my first turning point in my 14 years of formal schooling was that I did well in my board exams to the point that I was top 3 in the school. I topped in economics in the city. In fact, I received a merit certificate from the Ministry of HRD as what it was called last year. I thought I was very poor in math all my life, but I did really well in math in grade 12. To the point, eventually, when I wrote my GRE in math, I was in 99 percentile. I'll probably in the top 1% in the country. So it was 12th was the only year which I actually turned around. That was the last 3, 4 months when there were study holidays. But otherwise, I had a very inconsequential schooling life. The even bigger tragedy in school for me was I was short, I was fat, I was dark, and I was a big target for bullying. Anybody in the school, in my younger brother's class or my seniors, I was the punching bag. So virtually every week, I'll probably get punched by 5 kids for no reason, etc. And I really mean it. I'm not exaggerating at any point in time. So any kid can come and punch me. I'll probably try to hit back, but they'll probably punch me more. So I've come to terms with, taking nonsense or physical abuse from kids. And in those days, by the way, I don't know if it happens now in your schools. In my school, it doesn't happen. And I made it a point, it doesn't happen. In those days, even teachers can punch you and they can get away with it. So teachers also used to, when their anger, which they had with their husbands or wives, they used to come to school. And because I was short, I was in the front bench. So it is also a usual affair that every week I'll probably get 2 slaps from the teacher in the front. So that's the life I had in school. I hated it so much, you can't even imagine that it was hell for me. both at the home front as well as the school front. Uh, and I was very glad my schooling got over with the board exams, and I eventually went on to a college in it. So that's my life in school. So you would wonder what a loser this guy was. Why would he be invited to talk about what my reflections in school life was? So why am I here? So I must tell you, I mean, frankly, I don't know why Rukma invited me to talk here. I've not achieved anything great. Neither have I, of some prominence or significance in it. But this much I can tell you, uh, that since the time I finished school, I was on this quest to ensure that there will be no other school like the school I went to. And that's my quest in life. So I just pursued that for the last 15 years, that if I build schools, I will build schools and I will show the world how schools should be run. Not the school I went to, which was a very top ranked school, but yet it did real disservice to its students. So for the last 15 years, I've been embarked on this journey to build meaningful schools, schools that care for the children. So today it's one of the top, it's not one of the, it is the top ranking school for the last 3 years in a row by virtually every ranking agency in the country. Be it in the CBSE board results, for example, our schools uh, appear in the top three, four, including this year, I think we'll be in the top two in the country. Our students from our schools graduate to some of the best universities, not just in India, but around the world with full scholarships in it. In spite of my very poor academic track record over all my schooling years, except for grade 12, I still ended up with full scholarship going to an Ivy League and graduate one of the best universities in the world. And more importantly, I think the reason why Rukma called me is I really enjoy my job. I really love my life. I didn't know how the last 15 years went, uh, but I really found joy and meaning in my life to the point I'm really excited about creating something for the youth of this country. I probably would have worked with about 10,000 students in the last 15 years in different platforms. This is a recent hike we did uh, pre-COVID. Every year I take my grade 12 graduating students to climb a summit. This is the highest Shiva temple in the world. Uh, it is in the upper Himalayas, and I'd taken about 180 kids that year in it. So I think probably the reason why, so I don't have great accomplishment, but I really enjoy my life and I'm pursuing something of meaning. And I've worked with youngsters like yourself, and that's probably probably the reason why I'm here with you in it. One suggestion I have as I'm going to talk about this is that I strongly urge for the students here to make some notes as I speak, uh, purely because I think your brain, by the way, it is not mentioned in my introduction. My background is also cognitive neuroscience. So I'm a student of how the brain learns best. And that's where my guiding force has been when I design schools. So one of the brain research tips is that you register well in any learning experience if you make notes with your hand, not type the notes, because typing does not register the way handwritten notes do. So I strongly urge that as you speak, make your mental notes. You don't have to write a bullet pointed notes, but at least make a mind map, or at least make notes pictorially, whatever you're comfortable with, but make notes. I really urge you that you do that. Uh, so my first lesson, which I wish somebody had told me when I was your age, is that talent is overrated and grit is underrated. What I mean by this is that, this notion that some people are talented, some people are brainy, some people have high IQ, and they go on to achieve things. That is absolute hogwash. Don't believe that if any teacher, any parent, any adult tell you that, right? Talent is important, but it's not as important as grit and hard work is. I often say stomach is more important organ than the brain. And this is coming from a student of cognitive neuroscience, right? What I mean by this is a metaphor, of course. What I mean by this that your capacity to take nonsense in life, capacity to stomach pain in life is far more important for success than a high functioning brain. In fact, so talent is not important. Your capacity to work hard is important. I've shown the picture of Vinod Kambli and Tendulkar. For those of you who are many generations younger than I am, people in my generation recognize this picture. When I was in your age, when I was in grade 8, Tendulkar debuted for the Indian national team. But not many realize that along with Tendulkar, his school friend and childhood friend Vinod Kambli also debuted. And Ramakant Achrekar, who's the coach of not just these two fine young gentlemen, but also coach of several people who played for the national cricket team later. I mean, he's in some ways the godfather of Indian cricket coaches. He often used to comment that Tendulkar is never the gifted player. He never had the talent. In fact, if you look at his body, he never had the physical structure to be an athlete. He's short, he's plump. And he often said that, and reporters used to ask Ramakant Achrekar when Tendulkar and Kambli debuted for the Indian national team, uh, Achrekar always said that between these two, Kambli is the more talented and gifted. He had a natural flair for cricket. In fact, those of us who watched Kambli play, there was poetry in his action. You know that he doesn't have to work hard. God gifted him with talent, uh, right? To the point, Tendulkar, for many years since the time he debuted for the national cricket team, he never scored a century. In fact, people today know Tendulkar more, but the fact is, the first 3-4 years when he played, he never played a century. Kambli, by the time Tendulkar scored a century, Kambli had scored not a century, but 2 double centuries against England when they visited us. In fact, I had the opportunity to watch him play for one of the days. He scored 2 double centuries. He is that gifted than Tendulkar was. But Ramakant Achrekar in the same interview said that as much I know Kambli is gifted, I would still bet on Tendulkar because Tendulkar works harder. He's more consistent in his practice. He's more dedicated to his craft. And he predicted that in the long run, Tendulkar will do wonders and not Kambli. And history has proven him right. Today we know Tendulkar to be a far more gifted player, a far more successful player. Kambli didn't have a great career. In fact, after the 2 double centuries, he got into a lot of controversy. He took his practice too lightly, and he just was thrown out of the team, I think in 96 or 97 World Cup. And that's the last time he ever played cricket. Today, in fact, I saw Kambli as late as 2 years back in Bombay, where he was coaching some kids in one of the clubs locally. I had gone there to have some breakfast meeting with somebody. And it so happened I saw Kambli. He was, of course, fat and is old. And he was still coaching some young teenage kids. And that's how he's spending his time right now. But you know where Tendulkar reached. The point I'm trying to make is if somebody tells you talent, brain, intelligence will help you be successful, not true at all. It is your hard work, your consistency, which will help you succeed in it. I've often seen children who are very gifted when they are young in school often really don't meet their potential because they get too overconfident. They don't practice the talent given to them. That's true of not just Tendulkar and Kambli, that's true of every field. You look at CEOs, you look at business leaders, social leaders, musicians, many of them are not gifted or talented. They're just hard workers. In second point, I want to try to make I want you to understand is the power of plot. I don't know if you have heard of this word plot, but this is the single most important word I wish I had known when I was your age. Plot. You know what plots? Donkeys plot. Plot is used for the word donkeys. Donkeys work really hard when they're working with Adobe or something. They really plod, right? That is exceptionally important. People don't realize it. They think that, smart work is important. It is not true at all. In the long run, your hard work absolutely matters a lot more. In fact, incremental changes you make through hard work adds 1% every day, and eventually you'll be surprised the amount of talent you would get, right? So power of plod is very important. You've got to plod like a donkey for many, many years for you to reach any success in any field you want to. And that's something you need to know when you are in school itself. The third is delayed gratification. You can go Google delayed gratification and you'll find abundant research. One of the predictors of success in adult life, you can actually predict success, many of these things, when you're a child. Your capacity to delay gratification. When I say gratification, what I mean is your capacity to delay any pleasure predicts how successful you are in the future, right? That's why I say stomach is more important than the brain. What it means is that are you able to delay your pleasures and invite pain and stay with it for many, many, many months or years and work hard without any result? That's what the Gita, the Bhagavad Gita also says. Are you able to work without results, without success for many, many, many years or months? That defines success. So the first thing I would wish you know is uh, talent is overrated. Grit, your capacity to work hard, is exceptionally important. The second thing which I wish I had known is the power of being an underdog. Means that you don't need to be the popular kid, you don't need to be the superstar performer. In fact, if you're a superstar performer, you're a popular student, then it is a curse. Students who are underdogs, that they're always under the radar, they're always the people who are never people never expect you to do well, they have a strong competitive advantage in the long run. In fact, students or individuals who are always at the edge of their competence, that you always have a choice to be in a comfort zone. Let's say you're a great basketball player. You can keep playing basketball and show to the world that you are a great basketball player. Or you can say that, look, I'm good at basketball, but let me stretch my capacity in basketball itself. Or maybe let me try a new sport where I'm not good at. But I'll make myself look like a fool, but I'll go through the process over there. So that's a very important trait in itself. Be comfortable doing things you don't know in it. I see a lot of individuals, they're very gifted and talented, but they don't go into areas where they're not good at. Success and joy in life is given to individuals who actually go beyond their comfort zone. And if you're able to do that, that is a bigger gift than even better marks or better brains, better intelligence, right? So it's okay to fail. You should be exceptionally comfortable with okay to fail. One of my personal stories is, now, of course, I make a profession or a career or a life out of speaking. I really enjoy designing workshops, facilitating sessions. I've taken sessions with even 1,500 people in the auditorium, not just in COVID. In COVID, of course, I've addressed even 4,000 people, but even in workshops and conferences in 1,500 people in one go. Uh, I've done global conferences around the world. I really enjoy and uh, and I find meaning in connecting with people through conferences. But till in college, I can't speak a word in English in public. I want you to know that. So every time I'm invited to speak on the stage, I'll fumble. Once I remember, I was called to read the news in the morning assembly in my school in grade 12, and I fumbled so badly I couldn't start. Then the teacher had to walk up to the stage and take me down, and I had to console me and start crying. The worst thing you can do, what can happen to your life, and not just this fumble, but also to have your younger brother in the same audience who's 2 years younger to you, and he's a gifted speaker. Some of you who have siblings would understand my pain, that if you have a younger brother or sister, they'll enough to taunt you of your failures in some sense. Of course, in those age, you're not that matured enough, and that was a bigger fear. Oh, what is my brother going to think of me that I can't even speak? So I never had the capacity to speak English publicly. And I could never communicate well enough itself. So much so in college that anybody talks to me about careers, I would often not choose career options which entailed or involved public speaking. I said, I'm not going to speak in it. But then I realized that what is this fear? Then I had to tell myself that it is okay if I fail for 2 years. It's okay that people think I'm a joker, but let me get into it and practice speaking publicly till I get the art and the science of speaking right. So I spent about 3 years, a long time, just making a fool out of myself, just speaking in random places. So I just went. So even I do things like I'll meet people who are strangers in the bus stand. I'll start a conversation because I was an introvert, and I'll start a conversation deliberately in English. They will smile and laugh at my broken English, broken grammar, but I didn't care because my intent was at the end of 3 years, I should speak English well to the point I should be able to give public speeches. It took 3 years, but at the end of it, I came out wiser, stronger, and more confident. So the point I'm trying to make is be comfortable in doing things you don't know. Be an underdog. Even now, I feel that I'm always an underdog. I will always under promise and over deliver. People around me will always think, oh, Vishnu might not be able to do it, but eventually I will do it. Right? I've put a picture of Albert Einstein in his younger days. I deliberately put a picture when he was young. The reason I'm putting this here is he's one of the greatest scientists, finest minds of the 21st century. Probably after Isaac Newton, he's made some phenomenal contribution the way we look at time and space. But for me, a bigger inspiration of Albert Einstein is not just his scientific contributions, but his own personal journey. He's also an underdog all his life. People never realize the power of his ideas for many, many, many years. To the point he was actually seen as a simple clerk working in a patent office in Switzerland. He was shifting around, doing menial jobs. His school never recognized him. His college never recognized him. In fact, the power of Einstein is much later after he passed away. Of course, he got the Nobel Prize and all that. But he also lived in a time when there was no scientific instruments to test in reality of some of his propositions. So people always thought he was a maverick. He always thought that he never had any. So he's a classic example of an underdog. In fact, history is replete with underdogs. Some of the greatest leaders you find today, they were all underdogs at one point. Mahatma Gandhi is an underdog. Nobody, if you had met Mahatma Gandhi in his college days when he was doing his barrister, people would have thought he's a hopeless individual with no personality or character. And nobody would have even thought he would have done something, let alone be a father of a nation. Barack Obama, my personal hero, who I had the fortune to meet sometime many years back, he's again an underdog. He's never seen as a potential. Abraham Lincoln, for example, closer home, many actors, sportsmen, Dhoni, for example, they were all underdogs. And I think they always remain underdog. One of the key things is never think you're right. Never think you know everything. Never think you're a smart dude. The moment you do that, starts your downfall, right? So every day is day one. This I'm quoting from Amazon founder Jeff Bezos. If you go, I've been to his office many years back as part of a study mission visit in Seattle. The main block is called Day One. Its name is Day One. The reason is that Jeff Bezos often says it doesn't matter how large, how successful Amazon is, but every day is Day One. You are a beginner every day. And I think that's the reason why Amazon or even Jeff Bezos is a great people to look up to. The third thing I wish somebody had told me in school, I was also fortunate enough that I was part of Chinmaya mission and I had wonderful people guiding me on this, at least in college. But I wish I had known this in school, is follow your bliss, right? In life, there's nothing called success. There's nothing called fame. The only thing you can actually pursue, which if you ask me is your swadharma, your purpose in life, is following your bliss. What gives you happiness? And nothing will give you happiness than pursuing your meaning. You will have to find out what your purpose in life is. And you have to start that finding out journey early on in your life. Don't think you're going to find out in 30s and 40s. It's too late. By then you're married, you've got into a career, you really can't change much. But you have to start your pursuit of your meaning early in your life. By the way, follow your bliss is a very popular quotation by a philosopher who's deeply influenced by Indian philosophies by name John Campbell. You can Google and search. In fact, he made this thing very popular, follow your bliss. And this is from X-Men. If you love the X-Men franchise, one of the characters says that if you figure out your why, then you will manage anyhow. And I just found this to be so powerful that if you know why you are there in this earth, you will figure out anything in life, right? So early on for me, my realization was I was born to help students have a better schooling life. I don't want any student to go through what I went through. That is my meaning. That's my purpose in life. And that guided me all through, right? It even gave me the motivation, the drive to get through Harvard. It gave me the motivation, drive to build one of the best schools in the country. I think that figuring out is very important for all of you. You need to find what it. Also, don't pursue happiness. One of the things I often find is that people pursue happiness as an end objective of life. Happiness can't be pursued. The more you chase happiness, more you chase success, more you chase anything extrinsic, it will always evade you. The better alternative is pursue meaning. Your purpose is actually to pursue meaning in life, not happiness or success in life. When you pursue meaning, joy, success, happening, everything will follow. It's a big difference. Think about what I'm just sharing. Pursue meaning, not happiness or success, right? The only way to find your purpose or find your meaning is actually to get busy what you like. You know, I see a lot of adults, they come and say, Vishnu, I know you have made a successful transition to what you really enjoy doing. How do I do it? I keep thinking about what my meaning in life is. I don't find it. I tell them, if you sit and think about what your meaning in life is, you will never find it. Because meaning is not hanging in the tree or floating in the clouds for it to find you, right? It's not going to fall from the sky. It is there at the point of working hard. It is there at the point where you're intensely engaged in something, right? So the best way to find your purpose is to work really hard in something which really excites you. So if you really like, reading, writing, or pursuing physics or pursuing music, do that passionately, then meaning will come, right? And a last point I want you to think about, often young students ask me, sir, tell me, which career do I pursue? What course to take? Where is scope in which course? I bang my head and say, what a stupid question to ask, right? The question is not to ask where is scope, because of course, if you want to get a living, if you want to get a monthly salary and run your life like the way cows and horses and sheep and pigs live their life, you can also choose to do that. But you are young. You don't have the disadvantage of grown-ups. You have the right opportunity to craft your own life. You have to remember there is nothing called a successful career. There's only successful people. What I mean by this is there is no career which is going to give you success, because there's nothing called a career which gives high scope. No. Any career you choose, if you do it well, you will be successful. So that's the shift I wish I had known. I also pursued BCom. When I look back, I don't need to do BCom. I could have done something which is more meaningful to me. I wanted to be in training. I wanted to be in leadership development. I wanted to set up schools. Maybe I could have done a better job doing a course around education. Why did I do a BCom? I didn't know. I probably wasted 3 years. We live in a country where all of us want to be engineers, doctors, and MBAs, and then figure out what to do in life. That's not important. We don't have to go through that. You can figure out what you want to do in life and then choose a right college, a right career, etc. So I'm quoting Joseph Campbell: follow your bliss and the universe will open doors where there were only walls. In fact, he often said that he was inspired by the Bhagavad Gita. There's a stanza in the Gita which says that the universe will conspire if you deeply follow your meaning in life, right? So pursue your meaning early on in life. Don't wait for your 25, 30s, 40s, 50s to do something that's too late, right? The fourth thing which I wish I had known when I was your age is build capacity to do deep work and work on your strengths. So what I mean by this is, when I was in school, I always thought, oh, I have to be like this person. I have to work like this person. I have to be good in sports like this person. I have to talk like this other person. I always looked up to do something else. But the fundamental capacity which I think all individuals need to have is the capacity to go deeper into your own strengths. I had deep strengths while I was in school also with reading. I never read textbooks, but I voraciously read nonfiction. I should read every magazine possible, etc. When I look back, I could have possibly picked up reading as a very serious vocation, writing as a very serious vocation early on in school itself. I didn't have to wait till a little later in life. So one of the things I want youngsters like you to know, that the world of today, we are in the fourth industrial revolution. The world of today actually rewards and recognizes master of one trade who can become jack of all trades, right? The world rewards core competence. What it means is that they don't like generalist, right? I know a lot of students do 100 things, but none of the things they can do well. That's not important. We call this a T skills. You can see the picture of an individual standing with the hands open. It's like a T, which means that today the world recognizes people to have a depth of learning on one thing. You need to have deep competence in something. Once you have deep competence in something, you go horizontally, which is cross-domain skills and attitudes. We call this the T range, which means it looks like a T. Have depth in one thing, and once you reach a certain depth where the world feels you're an expert at it, then you start having cross-domain skills and attitudes. So if I'm your age, I will possibly focus on recognizing my strengths, and I will do all that I can to deepen my strengths. That is something which you should start early on in it. Remember, it takes 10 years to build competence. I'm repeating this. It takes 10 long years to build competence in anything, be it sports, music, business, academics, uh, any skill, even gardening, as simple as gardening. 10 years of mindful practice is what it takes to build a competence. So I strongly urge you to recognize what it is and dedicate your next 10 years building your competence around it. Don't be a generalist, you can do everything. Of course, you can do many things. You can have as a hobby, but identify one thing which will spend the next 10 years building competence. You will really thank me 10 years later. If you meet me in an airport and if you really follow this, you'll probably thank me. You said, Vishnu, I'm so glad you told me this that time. This is one thing will really change your life. Know your strength and spend the next 10 years building that strength. It takes 10 years, but it leads me to the next uh, secret, which I wish I had known, which is the power of compounding. If there is, this is probably one of the key messages I want you to take back is the power of compounding. You all know of compound interest. I wish this is a physical class. We could have probably had more interactions, but I'm sure you all know about compound interest. Compounding interest is that, if you have something, you have an interest over it, but you have an interest over the interest over the interest, right? That's compounding. You'd have heard of the very famous fable, Aesop's fable, where a farmer goes to a king and asks for a few grains of rice on a chessboard. But the condition was that every square he puts a grain of rice. Let's say if you put 1 grain of rice in the first square in a chessboard, the next one would be 2. You just keep doubling it, right? Double the previous this one. And the king said, yes, I will do it. But the king doesn't realize the power of compounding, because you can keep doubling up to a point, but beyond half the chessboard, it becomes closer to infinity. That is the power of compounding. It's often called the ninth wonder of the world, right? It's also called the ninth wonder of the world because many individuals, not just students, even adults, don't understand the power of compounding and its impact on your life, right? So know that when you start something small today, it may look very small. But if you do 1% increase every day over the previous day, you will have phenomenal change in a few years' time. You will be surprised what you will be one day. I want you to know this, right? At this stage of your life, you might think, okay, I'm doing this and this. I'm probably good at this. I'm not good at this. But you don't realize that in 10 years' time, you will be a superstar in what you do, provided you just increase 1% every day of your effort on that script, right? That's the power of compounding, right? Uh, I don't know if you recognize the picture of this individual. Some of you might have guessed. This is Shah Rukh Khan, by the way. Shah Rukh Khan when he was in school. And I often show this to children, not that I'm a big fan of Shah Rukh Khan. I'm more of a Rajinikanth fan. But one thing I really like about Shah Rukh Khan is Shah Rukh Khan has achieved what he has achieved with no background. He doesn't have a family. He's not from a rich family. He doesn't have a film background. His family is not like the Khans, the Amir Khans of the world, where, the family generationally they were in films. He is a nobody. He was an underdog. He just came in, fought his way through, and today is a Badshah of Bollywood. I mean, you may not like his movies, but his life journey is phenomenal in it. But one of the things he often believed is that he's going to make small changes every day. Look at him. In school, if somebody had told us this guy will be the Badshah of Bollywood, we'll laugh at him. He's got a paunch in school. Can you imagine? Right? He lost his parents. It's a phenomenal story. And he's a classic example that early on, he realized that I may not be the superstar today. I may not be the Badshah today. But if I make small changes every day for the next 10 years, I will one day be the Badshah. That is his power. He doesn't even have great acting skills, frankly, but he has great capacity to believe in the power of compounding. He just improved 1% every day. Okay, so that's one. Also, there is also a joy of compounding. When you start working little by little early on in your life, you suddenly you will start enjoying the process itself, right? So start early stay in the game. So start early working on your strengths, working on your vision, but stay in the game. Don't give up. You might have years and years of nobody recognizing you. Nobody will even notice you're doing these things. But one fine day, people will wake up and say, wow, who is this person? Right? And that's happened in my life too. If I go meet my school teachers, they're very surprised. And today I do conferences and sessions. I had my school principal from Australia. He's migrated to Australia now. I was in New Zealand a few years back, and I was doing a session, and this gentleman was there in the audience, and he walked up to me and to ask a question. And then it hit me, hey, he was my principal. Then I told him that I was his principal. Then he recognized me. Of course, he couldn't forget me because he suspended me once when I was in grade 9 and he almost threw me out of the school. So he recognized me so well, but he can't believe that I was doing what I was doing there. Right. So stay early, stay in the game. You will surprise the world of what you could do in life. Delayed gratification as a habit. That's something which I want you to think about in it. This power of compounding is not just with your skills, with your life, with your vision. It is also with your financial independence. One of the secrets of a joyful life is to ensure that by age 30, 35, you should be financially independent, which means that you stop working for money by 35. Not everybody is born in a rich family. You don't have a rich father to give you wealth. Many of you, like myself, who probably would have grown up in a middle class family. I grew up in a very low middle class family. All my life, I actually lived in a 600 square foot house where the living room is the drawing room, is the dining room, is the bedroom. In fact, when I started earning, having a separate bedroom was a luxury for me, right? So, but one thing I see adults don't realize, to be happy in life, one of the things you need is financial independence. That you don't have to think about money. You don't have to think about monthly salary every month. You don't have to do a 9 to 5 grind job, which you hate, because you have to sustain yourself. So I urge you that start thinking about making yourself financially independent by 30 or 35 years of age. If you start saving early by 20 years of age, let's say you finish your college, you go to work, the first salary you get, your first expense is not on spending on yourself or spending on a sari for your mother or on a motorbike or a mobile phone. No. Your first expense should be saved in a good mutual fund. Believe me, that few thousand rupees you put at the age of 20 and you forget about it and then look at 35, it will be multiple lakhs. You'll be surprised how big that money has become. And if anybody who starts saving and let the magic of compounding work on your small saving early in your life, you will be financially free, irrespective of what you earn, where you are in life. By 35, I guarantee you will stop earning for money. You'll start working for joy. Right? So that's another aspect of power of compounding. Start saving early so that you're free of financial obligations, so that you can pursue joy, meaning, purpose in your life. The sixth thing I wish I had known, and I've realized this in the last 10 years, and a lot of my own happiness in my life comes from this, is power of everyday habits. My dad used to tell me, Vishnu, do this, do that, and never listened to him. But when I look back now, many of the things he said was absolutely right. Maybe the way he said it, you could have been more loving and understanding. He probably would slap me twice before he even says the first word. But what he said was very right. The real wealth is not the money you make, it's not the professional success. It is everyday habits you have in your life will give you real wealth. What do I mean by that? What I mean is that having daily habits which are consistent every day for you is the best investment you can make in yourself. Okay, your body and mind is like a motorcycle engine. I'm a biker myself, and I love motorbiking across the country in it, and that's why I'm giving a motorcycle experience. One of the things about motorcycle is a great engine, right? The bike can do wonderful things if the engine has the capacity to do this, right? But you can also work on improving the capacity of that engine very well, right? So the best way to increase your capacity to do more things in life with ease is building the right habits early on in life, right? That's the best investment you could make in yourself at this age, right? Remember, you don't rise to your vision, but you fall to your habits. So it's not that people become great because of great vision. No, people fall to the level of habits they have. One of the habits is exercise itself, right? I know many of you are physically active. That's great. But if you're not, you better start doing physical exercise right now. Because by the time you reach 35, 40 years of age, I guarantee you, statistics tells us, I'm not saying this out of thin air, but data tells us one out of two people among you will have a heart issue, right? By the time you reach 50, one out of three people among you will have cancer, right? So you are all, unfortunately, will have diseases which the previous generation never had because of their lifestyles. You don't have to do that. I've lost two friends who are my age to heart attacks in the last 5 years, right? One of them is a very dear friend. I just lost him for two heart attacks. Why? We were not, I myself have a health issue, which I could have avoided if I'd been very careful when I was your age, right? So exercise every day. That's one thing I really want you to do, because exercise is not just for the body, but for your brain. I often say, if you really want to be fit, it's not the exercise. It is actually the right food you eat. Your body fitness is actually more about food than about exercise. But you have to exercise to keep your brain sharp. Second is eat right, right? That's what is going to keep you fit, your body in shape. You will not have other lifestyle related diseases. And in your generation, one of the biggest problems is sugar. The amount of sugar you folks consume, or even I consume, used to consume, is phenomenal. In fact, it is like the new cigarette. In my time, in my generation, cigarettes were not considered harmful. I mean, it was considered harmful, but it's absolutely okay for people to smoke cigarettes in buses, okay to smoke cigarettes in cinema halls. It's even okay to smoke cigarettes in hospitals for that matter, right? You can go to restaurants, people will be smoking inside the restaurant. In the last 10 years, there is awareness that cigarette smoking is bad. They've banned smoking in public, but it took about 40 years that change to happen. I think that'll happen to sugar also. In another 20 years, you will realize that sugar is more dangerous than cigarette in it. Of course, today the media is not telling you that, the government is not telling you that, but they will tell you in 20 years' time. But I hope by then you wouldn't have got any lifestyle related disease because of your eating habits. So be very careful about what you eat, how much you exercise, right? And last thought is two most important parts of the day. It doesn't matter whether you're academic, non-academic, whether you're interested in studies or not, I don't care. But what is very important is that you have to do two things right every day, which is when you wake up, your first 1 hour of what you do after you wake up determines your day. So your most important part of the day is your morning rituals. Do you wake up and do exercise, meditate, or reflect, or read? Or do you keep browsing your phone, keep lying on this one, and start watching TV or YouTube on your phone? That makes or breaks your life. I mean, it might sound very funny, but that's the reality of life. The second most important part of the day is night rituals, which means what do you do the last half hour before you go to bed? These two things, you get it right. What you do in the morning when you wake up, and what you do before you go to bed. If you do these two things right, the day will get sorted. You will eat the right stuff. You'll exercise the right thing. You'll start focusing and not getting distracted on social media. Right. The last point, which by the way, I want to read this quotation also of Bruce Lee in the previous slide. And Bruce Lee is my personal hero and a favorite. In fact, in one part of my life, I went around as a homage to the places he'd been to. I'd been to his place where he was born in Hong Kong. I've been to the place where he was buried in Seattle. He's a phenomenal human being. Unfortunately, again, snatched away early on in his life. He ended very tragically. But one of the things he talked about, by the way, he was very influenced by Indian philosophers by name Jiddu Krishnamurti. And a lot of his own philosophy in life comes from that. And one thing he says, which really stuck to me when I read this when I was in college, I fear not the man who practiced 10,000 kick once, but I fear the man who practiced one kick 10,000 times. That is the key. This is deep work. You don't need to do 100 things in life. Remember that. Don't get distracted by doing this, that. I want to be a musician, a rock star, a reader. No, there could be 100. Don't get distracted. Don't even have 100 friends. Have a few things, but do it well. In life, remember, less is more. Slow is fast. Yeah. Okay. My last thing, which I'd really wish I had known when in school, is fake it till you make it. Remember this, fake it till you make it. Again, you can go to Google and search the imposter syndrome. You will read more research about it. All of us, in some point in our life will experience imposter syndrome. What does it mean? It is a syndrome which you feel that you are an imposter. Like I'm feeling right now. I feel like an imposter. Why am I being called to talk about this? That am I really worth your time that I'm coming and talking? Did I do anything in my life, etc.? So you will always feel you're an imposter. You'll always feel you're not up to it. You'll always feel you're not ready for it. You'll always feel, oh, I think people made a mistake in selecting me. Let's say if you are a student council member or you are a leader in a local sports club, or your article has been selected, whatever it is, you might just feel, oh, I think they made a mistake. And you often feel for a long time, oh, I think they made a mistake. Maybe I'm going to fail, right? Women especially experience this far more than men, especially in workplaces. Women always feel, oh, I'm not up to the men here. Or men who have low confidence will always say, oh, I'm not up to the other men here, right? That's an imposter syndrome. I wish I had known it is absolutely normal for individuals to feel imposter syndrome. In fact, the more successful you get, the more stronger this feeling of imposter syndrome is. By the way, imposter syndrome, even great sportsmen feel. Even, right now we're in the time of Olympic, even Usain Bolt feels that he's an imposter. In one of the interviews saying, every time he runs, he just feels, oh, does he really deserve these gold medals? Right? Naomi Watts, one of my favorite tennis players, now I'm now embarked on a journey to know more about her own life, a Japanese tennis star, often talks about this imposter syndrome, that she often feels that she's not, even eligible to be part of Wimbledon or winning it, let alone winning it. So get comfortable when you feel it. When you feel the imposter syndrome, tell your mind that it's absolutely okay. Even very successful people feel it. One of these stories which actually changed my perspective on imposter syndrome is Ugly Duckling. I'm sure many of you have heard this story. In fact, my English teacher, I'm eternally indebted to this teacher. She's one of the few teachers who really made an indelible mark in me, in it. And the biggest contribution to my life, in fact, I've made it a point to go to Kerala. She lives in Kerala now, and I met her once and I thanked her for that story she shared. She actually shared the story of an ugly duckling. I've read the story, but I never knew the meaning. I know many of you have read the story. It's about the story of, a duckling, which is there with the group of other ducklings. You would have seen ducklings are always in groups with the mother duck in it. And all the ducklings and the mother duck, always felt this one weak duckling is a very ugly duckling. It's a weak, it doesn't eat well, it doesn't grow faster, it is always thinner, it looks a little odd, it's always late for when they're going somewhere else. So it is always really ugly duckling. So this duckling was felt really bad. What the hell is this that nobody even likes me? Everybody thinks I'm ugly, I'm weak, in it. So one fine day, it just couldn't take it, and it started swimming across the lake, and said, "Let me leave my family and my friends. Let me go alone and die, and probably just find something else." We just left, in it, in absolute dejection, absolute sadness. And it goes and goes and goes and goes for many days, weeks, months pass. It keeps swimming and swimming and swimming in the waters across the lakes. It's a large lake. And suddenly it finds, after many, many, many weeks, in it, it also started growing. I mean, weeks goes into months, month goes into a few years also. It has always been a loner. It always feels low on confidence and all. It never meets other ducks, etc. Whenever there's a group of other birds come, it'll run away because it feels it's ugly. And suddenly it finds, after many years, that people start looking at it and smiling and pointing fingers as if they're very interested in looking at it. Initially, it thought there should be some accident. Then it realized that everybody starts talking about it. There are people walking by the side of the lake. They want to talk to it. They want to take a picture of it and things like that. Then it realized that it was wondering what happened. Then it looks at the water and it realized that it is not a duckling, it's a swan. And swans are typically very ugly when they're young, but when they grow older, they look more and more beautiful, and they're more beautiful than ducks. So it is actually a swan which got mixed up with a group of ducks. For a long, it thought it was a duck, it was an ugly duckling, but in time, it realized it's a swan. I know you know the story, and I repeated the story, but it's a very important mindset to have, because many times you will feel that you are ugly in a certain situation. But the time you'll realize, we put the right effort, you will be a swan someday. Uh, Amy Cuddy, you can go to Google. In fact, I had the time, I would have played this video, but the video is a little long, it's about 20 minutes, so I don't think we'll have time to play that. But you can go to Google and you can search for the talk called Fake It Till You Become It, right? It's a very popular TED talk. She is a professor at Harvard Business School. I had the opportunity to attend her classes. I was one of her students when I was back there. Uh, and she also went through a very similar story treatment to what I had shared. And she made it a life's mission to actually research on what actually makes people to be successful in their lives. And in the talk, she talks about that if you feel like you shouldn't be somewhere, fake it the way I'm faking it right now. So, what do you mean by that? That if you feel that you're not going to be successful, just act as if you're going to be successful, right? Have a body language which is confident, dress up really well every day, have a great hairstyle to look as if you're professional and serious. So fake it. Uh, do it until not become you make it, but until you become it. Right? It's a very powerful thought, which I wish I had known, and I've always followed this in my own life. That fake it till you become it. Right? You become the person whom you want to be before you become that. Yeah. So with this, I've come to the end of my speech. I wish this had been more interactive. I wish we had been in physical presence of each other. But let's be in touch. You can take up, this is a QR code to my Twitter feed. I often post a lot of very interesting articles on education, leadership development. Another simple tip to youngsters like yourself: if you want to be in social media, please don't waste your time on Instagram and Facebook. Be on Twitter. Twitter is one social media platform which will really help you learn more. It'll help you grow as an individual more than Facebook and Instagram is. So that's my Twitter feed, and we can be in touch. You can take a picture of this, and it takes you to the feed in itself. So with this, I'm come to an end. Srinivas, over to you.
Thank you, Vishnu. That is really inspiring. I'm sure that many of us connected to many of the things you said, both from the academic side and the other aspects of life. So we have already reached at 5:30, but I would request you, if you have time, can you spend 10 more minutes so that we can take a couple of questions?
Sure.
We have, thank you. Yeah, so we have got a couple of questions here. So these are mainly from students. So one of the questions is, how can grit be more important than talent? If one does not have the talent, even hard work will not take you forward. Sachin Tendulkar did have talent, plus he worked hard. I think some Sachin fan has got offended. Maybe that is why this question has come.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Great question. I'm really happy somebody asked this question. In fact, in a physical, I normally do this session on talent a lot with parents and students. In fact, that wonderful book, I strongly suggest you read this book called Outliers. Outliers, written by a wonderful professor from University of Chicago called Malcolm Gladwell. I think it's a phenomenal book every youngster should read if you want to understand talent. So first thing first, I disagree that Sachin had talent. Okay, he might have a liking to play cricket, but talent is not. It didn't come when you're born. It came because he practiced every day. That's a big difference. So we often see intelligent people or talented people. We think, okay, they're talented because some God-given gift or in the genes it came. No, that's not true at all. Of course, some people have a genetic disposition, like Kambli was. Some people have genetic disposition for mathematics, for example, but that doesn't make them a great mathematician. What makes him a great mathematician is the capacity to work really hard. Right? The world is full of talented idiots. In fact, there are many people who can play better cricket than Tendulkar himself. If you follow Bombay cricket, Maharashtra is one of the great cultures of cricket, by the way. Bombay especially produced so many cricketers, Manjrekar, even Ajit Agarkar. I don't follow cricket now. The last 5 years, I don't know who the players are. But it had, at the school level, there were players who are far better talented than Sachin were. But Sachin's gift is not cricket, it is his work ethic. Think about it. Even when he reached his peak, what kept Sachin ticking till when he was 42 when he retired? It is his goddamn work ethic. It didn't matter to him. He was unlike other players. When he reached 40, in fact, he worked really hard. In fact, he got a six pack and all after he got 40. I don't know if you followed his career. He looked different by the time he reached 30th. He put his body with so much of hard work. It's not talent, it is grit. Can I, Srinath? It's a very important story I want to share about. This is from the story
please.
of Venus Williams. This is a real life story. My former boss and me were working in a project for Nike. Nike is based out of Portland, in Bridgeport, which is next to Portland in the US. Okay. Now they have this huge sports city, massive sports, about 150 acres or so. That's where they groom future talents. Okay. This is in the year 2008, 2009. That time I was in the corporate world. We were designing some training programs for Nike. Although I was not there when this incident happened. My boss, Shyam Vishwanathan, was there. But I was on that project when he told me this. He later got published in another book also, this event. So in the morning, my boss had no clue about tennis. So in the US, I'm sure some of you might know, people start work very early. They're not as lazy as Indians are. Indians start office at 9:30. I don't know if you know, Americans start office at 6:37. Okay. It's phenomenal. Their work, of course, they wind up early also. So at 6:30, early in the morning, my boss, Shyam Vishwanathan, drove his car in the parking lot. And when he parked, it's right next to the arena for tennis. And there was this lady playing a certain backhand shot again. Okay. Now it was 6:30, 8:39, they wanted to have a breakfast. This one, they had to walk from the office building to the dining hall. And they're walking across and they passed through the tennis arena. And this lady was still playing the same backhand shot. Lunch happened. This lady was playing the same backhand shot. At 7:30 in the evening, he was winding up, going back home, went to the parking lot. The lady was playing the same backhand shot. That was Venus Williams, who was a world champ. Now, why am I saying this story? It's not about hard work. Of course, everybody works hard and all that. It is working like a donkey. Donkeys, when they work, they don't think, they just work. The biggest enemy of hard work is the mind. The mind tells you, oh, you've practiced 1,000 times. Let's take a break. Oh, why don't we try another shot? Oh, why don't you watch a movie and come back? Why don't you take a short nap and come back? All of the things the mind starts playing, it will essentially prevent you from doing the repetitive task required for mastery. Remember what Bruce Lee says? Practicing one shot 10,000 times is what makes you a master. Only donkeys can do. That's why I feel Tendulkar is a donkey in a right way. In fact, in my office, when students come in, I have a teddy bear of a donkey to tell them it's cool to be a donkey. And that's what makes it success. So I don't agree that Tendulkar is talented. No. He has the talent because he worked like a donkey to get that talent. Talent has to be earned. It's not given. There are many people who get it also. There is a genetic disposition for certain things, but that is not, it's not a sufficient condition for success.
Thank you, Vishnu. I mean, that was very, very detailed. I think that question must be clear for all of us now. I also remember Swami Vivekananda mentioning this point in some of his writings, speeches, which was later transcribed. So he also makes a lot of stress on plodding, you plod on through the dark. And there's a poem he has written to one of the Maharajas of the erstwhile princely state, where he says, hold on yet a while, brave heart. So,
yes.
Whatever you're doing will bear fruit at a later point of time, the same point of gratification, which you mentioned. Thank you so much. We have another question. This is a more practical question. So the question is, I'm already pursuing a program, which I realize now is not in my interest. Should I complete it and then pursue my liking, or drop it right now? What do you say?
So I don't know. It depends on your life circumstances, also how powerful your idea of the vision is. So one of the biggest risks many youngsters do, I also did that for some time when I was pursuing my college. He said, I don't like something. This is not what I know. I drop it. I go to something else. I drop it. I go to something and drop it. So that's actually more counterproductive. You'd rather stick on to something and do it, because if you've started something, you jolly well finish it. Unless you have a very compelling idea or a compelling vision that I want to do this, then of course you drop everything and just do that. But if you don't have a compelling idea of what you want to do what is there in your plate. Do it well. That's why in one of the points, maybe it's not come out strongly the way I wanted it to. One of the points I said, you don't discover passion, or it's not that passion or your inspiration going to come from the sky or the tree. You discover it when you're really working hard on something that you truly care about, right? A lot of people say, I don't find my passion. How I want to find my meaning. No, you won't find your meaning. You work hard, meaning will find you. So my response to this, of course, it's very personal to your circumstances. Yeah. But if you don't have anything compelling, at least complete what you haven't had. And then you think about what you don't drop anything midway.
Yeah, I think that is the right guidance that we can give to students. I mean, any individual for that matter. These are all very personal, depends on a lot of circumstances, etc. But I'm sure that these 7 points that you mentioned in the session it will come handy for making such decisions. Thank you so much for sharing. We are towards the end of it. So on behalf of Chinmaya Vishwa, I thank you for being here. We are looking forward to many more of your sessions. And just one thing to all the audience here, Vishnu Karthik used to take sessions called Swadharma workshop. I hope you are taking the session still. Is it?
No, it's morphed a lot. When I look back, there were disasters when I had taken, but I worked on the craft for the last 7-8 years. So now I have better design for the workshop. Yes, but so I still take them, but in a very different model. Yeah.
Okay, but I don't know if you remember that I was one of your students back in 2011.
Yes, and that's where we got connected.
Met first year, correct.
That's
so
right.
That was very insightful, and I can vouch for him that it is one of he has some great insights for how to be more effective in life. So thank you so much. We are looking forward to more of your sessions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care. Namaskar. Thanks.